Hello, welcome back to our bi-monthly Ask the Coach, where we bring coaches on to answer your questions that we've gathered in the previous 2 weeks to help you to be better at what you do and have more understanding. I'm Angela Cripps, the MD of the Recruiting Gym. I'm going to get the coaches to do a short intro in a moment. I'm hoping Kate will stay there because we've had a few issues. My fingers crossed she won't disappear. And while they're doing that, I'd like you to vote on the questions. So if you go to the Ask the Question bit, you'll see there's 6 already there. You can always add another one. We're happy to do that if we have time. But this runs for 45 minutes. And if you haven't got 45 minutes, then vote on the question that you really want us to answer first. And we'll do those in that order. So feel free to chip in, add some more. Let's find out from the coaches while you vote on the questions that you would like answered first. Okay, Declan, let's come to you first as you're off mic.
All right, cool. So I'm Declan Bradley. I'm a partner at Doyle Clayton, which is a law firm. So I'm an employment partner, but I'm also a recruitment specialist. So I help lots of different types of companies in the recruitment sector with their own staff, with their compliance obligations, whether that's traditional sort of employment agencies or employment businesses, or even PEOs, or even end user clients who are dealing with PEOs and recruitment businesses, etc. So basically anything legal related to recruitment, that's what I'm here for. Here to help.
I've got 2 questions for you already. What's a PEO?
Professional Employer Organization.
Okay.
Like the Velocity or maybe the online one, Deal.
Lovely. And the second question, were you a partner last time you were on here?
I can't remember. When's the last time I was on? I became a partner.
9 months.
Yeah, I became a partner last January. So yeah, it's been over a year.
So possibly then.
That's why I've grown the beard, give myself more gravitas since the last time.
Love it. Thank you. If you want to mute, let's go to Rod. Rod, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Rod McMillan. I'm the marketing manager at monster.co.uk. Started off in some of the recruitment agencies in around 2006. Now I've moved over to the marketing side, so I see a lot of data and analytics and what's happening with the market. But it's great to come on here and sort of hear from the front lines as well. Yeah, these are always good.
Definitely. Yeah, we all need our market knowledge from the front lines. So here's an opportunity for us to understand what's going on as well through our discussions, through our meetings, through our training, and also from the 3 of you. Thank you for that. Kate, let's hope that you stay there. I'm not convinced.
I don't know what is going on today, but I think you can still hear me even if the camera goes. So I'm Kate. I'm a recruitment coach and trainer. I'm one of the coaches at the gym as well. So and I'm also a disc specialist. So I've got a disc course on the gym as well. So that's me in a nutshell. Hope you could all still hear that as well, because I know it disappeared a couple of times.
We can hear you perfectly. I thought you were just very still because it's actually frozen, but in a perfect position where you're just sort of thinking about things. Whereas normally when it freezes with me, I'm like, it's not great at all. You look fabulous. It's a great pose. You look very relaxed. So that's going to work brilliantly. It may come back, it may not, but as long as we can hear you, that's important. Okay, so we've got Simon Bliss there. Simon, 11:45 to 12:30 when we do these sessions. So thank you for joining us. If you've got a question, Simon heads up team, the Employment Agents Move It. Then from your membership, feel free to add those as well. Okay, let's have a look. Have we had any votes? Let's see what's coming out first. All right. We've got a few joint, and I'm trying to get that one to the end. So let's go with question 4, the unrealistic expectations, salary expectations from candidates. How do we deal with this? So, Rod, I'm coming to you first. How do we deal with candidates who have unrealistic salary expectations?
Yeah, no problem. I think we sort of commented when this question come up. It's probably been around as long as recruitment. I think it's coming up more now, basically due to inflation. And part of it is how subjective is unrealistic from the candidate's point of view. We can also flip it around and say, how do candidates deal with job offers that have unrealistic salary offers? I think one big thing that's changed since I started in recruitment is salary transparency. There's never been a time when it's been easier to access more up-to-date salary information that's out there. So I think even if you post a job without a salary and a candidate comes to that through Google, Google's job search experience will actually benchmark that salary already for them and say, oh, this is a particularly good salary for the job. It's important to bear that in mind. I would say that the very first thing to do is get data to back up your position. So you really need to benchmark the salaries that you're offering. You can do that manually by just going and doing searches on different job boards for similar sorts of roles, and get the candidate experience, look at it from their point of view. What are other people offering for these roles? And if you can see that your salary is fitting in with what's out there on the market, then that gives you a bit of ammunition to go back there. You can also use their salary benchmarking tools. I'll pop a link to one in the chat later from Monster's parent company, Randstad. They're designed for candidates, really, where they go in and put in their experience, and it tells them what sort of salary they should be expecting. But there's a lot of salary information out there. So the first thing to do is get the data and identify, right, are they having an unrealistic expectation, in which case you can present this data to them, or do you maybe need to think, do we need to adjust the salary as well? Are we seeing a pattern there? So if you do the benchmarking and the salary average is good for the job, you can take that data back to them. If the salary you're offering is below the average of what's on the market, at least you know where.
I've lost Rod, but is that just me?
No, he's frozen for me as well.
Okay, I've had it before where it is just me and I try and interject and it doesn't work because I talk over people because they're still talking, but it has frozen. Okay, we've got some great ideas on that, and I wasn't aware that those type of tools were out there as well. So this is where I love to find out what's going on as well. So we'll get Rob back and we'll get that link definitely to those salaries. But I want to talk about it with regards to one of the other questions. So I'm going to leave it from there. Kate, you got something you'd like to add to that with regards to unrealistic candidate expectations?
Yeah, I think, and I'm coming from a consultant's perspective because it wasn't that long ago that I was a recruitment consultant myself. I think, you learn what's unrealistic because we're dealing with so many different roles in the market, especially if you're niche, you do know your market well. I think if they're genuinely being unrealistic, as long as you can back that up, it's being honest and having a discussion about it, because we're sometimes more in the know than they are about the salaries in the market. And somebody might not have looked for a job for ages and just be basing it on maybe what they got paid before or what they think they can get. But sometimes we're a consultant, so we need to consult them around that and talk to them about it. So I think if you know your market and you're confident with it and you know they're being unrealistic, have a discussion about it.
My favourite answer I used to get, mainly with younger people. I don't think I'm being ageist here. Declan can tell me, as we've got the legal expert on here. But they would come in and ask for a really unrealistic salary, and then would ask them, where have you got that from? Where have you bet? Oh, my mum told me to ask for that because they had no idea, and the parents just said, this is what I want you to earn, so go and ask for that. So again, you just don't know where it's coming from a basis. I can see that Rod has accepted again. I'm just going to remove you and invite you again, Rod, just in case that helps to prompt it through. So fingers crossed he'll be back. We've got a Celtic vibe going on today because we've got the Irish contingent, but Rod is actually in Scotland, and we've got Kate in Wales as well. So I'm wondering if I was just about to say, is it the weather? And I think that's what Charlotte said as well. I think I'm there. So was I being ageist by mentioning that?
I think you were just recounting your anecdotal experience, which I think is fine. But we actually do have pretty much all the Celtic areas covered, because obviously me and Rod are from Northern Ireland. Rod's also in Scotland. Katie, I think you're Welsh, is that correct?
Yeah.
And then I'm actually based in Cornwall.
Okay.
Which is Celtic as well. So all the Celtic areas covered.
It used to be different itself, didn't it? And I'm good old England, right in the middle. He's back. Wonderful. You did explain. Was there anything else you wanted to add, Rod, before you got rudely cut off?
Just to say, if it's happened after people have applied and you don't have salary information on the job, that's a big red flag anyway for a lot of candidates. But obviously, if you've got a salary on the job and then they're still coming through and asking for more after, you can push back on them with that as well, saying, this is the advertised salary that you've applied for.
Fantastic. And yes, we'd love that link. Thank you. And Charlotte, thank you for the link there that you've put on that. So that's really helpful. Let's have a look at the next question. So let me done answering on that one. So next question then, let's go to Declan. When should digital middle person platforms have to comply with the same strict conduct regulations and Related Employment Agencies Act 1973 that traditional recruiters must follow? So maybe if you could just get a little bit of background as to where this has come from, and then we can answer the question.
Yeah, so I suppose to set the scene. So I think most people listening should be like traditional type recruiters that accept that they are recruiters. So that'll be their employment agencies. So we're just doing introductory type placements. And employment agencies will have to comply with the conduct regs, the Conduct of Employment Agencies and Employment Businesses Regulations 2003. Snappily named, and also the Employment Agencies Act 73. So that will include things like do not charge the work seeker, and also if you're an employment agency, don't be involved in the payment from the hirer to the work seeker. And then the Employment Agencies Act itself actually sets out, I think it's section 5.2 sets out the provision which means that a breach of the conduct regs can actually be a criminal offence. So it's important stuff, and to be honest, lots of recruiters don't even know this as well, or traditional recruiters. And then you have employment businesses. So they're the ones that sort of sit in the middle, and they have a bank of of agency workers and contractors, and then they parachute them into a client. The client pays the recruiter, and the recruiter pays whatever fee they've agreed separately with the agency worker and the contractor. Employment businesses, as well as having to comply with certain regulations in the conduct regs and the Employment Agencies Act. There's lots more for them to think about. They've got agency worker regulations, obligations. They have probably IR35 obligations as a fee payer. If they're putting in sole traders, then they need to think about what's called Chapter 7 of ITIPA, which is a tax legislation. And if those sole traders are under the supervision, direction, or control of the end user client or the recruiter, then that recruiter may be liable for PAYE tax, for example. And then also if an employment business is paying gross to a contractor, then every 3 months it has to report that to HMRC and basically do a spreadsheet of all the contractors it's paying gross. And you can imagine there's all sorts of penalties, etc., for non-compliance. So that's what traditional recruiters have to contend with. And they'll have invested in their compliance, hopefully, will have invested in their compliance processes around that stuff. But what I'm seeing these days, I do a lot of startup work, for example. So I'm seeing a lot of platforms, digital platforms that maybe are introducing, say, tutors to end users or tutors, so parents and children. Yeah. Maybe barbers getting introduced to consumers, or maybe marketing specialists getting introduced to clients, corporate clients who need them. It seems very clear, and there was a case about this, I think it was called Simply Learning Tutor versus the Secretary of State, where they were clearly seen to be caught as recruitment businesses and by this legislation. But in my chats with them, I know all this, and as a lawyer, I have to say it, and I can't say, yeah, but it's fine not to comply with it because there's criminal offences, for example. But lots do not want to comply because it creates, I think just dealing with that compliance will increase their overheads, and then they have to charge more. And also you find a lot of these platforms want to charge the work seeker, not the client. So they'll be undercutting probably traditional recruiters and stealing their clients by saying to the client, look, come to our platform, we don't charge you, we charge the work seeker a referral fee of 10% or whatever it might be. So that's happening quite a lot. And I have these conversations, and because I know what the law is, and because I'm in communications with the recruitment regulator, the Employment Agency Standard Inspectorate, then I have to tell them X, but the good ones, I suppose, stick with me, and then I help them still be innovative, but in a compliant way. But I don't hear from lots more because obviously they don't like what I'm saying. So it's just an issue that I'm seeing, and I suppose this is more of a call to action for the recruiters out there. Now, is this an issue that you're coming up against? Do you feel that this is, do you feel that these types of platforms who don't accept that they're recruiters and therefore can charge in a different way to you or can undercut you because they don't have the compliance cost? Is that an issue for your business? Is it something that you want to address? I think as an action point that the recruitment regulator, who I think is actually hating me now because I asked him so many questions, but it's novel and it's new and it needs more guidance, in my opinion. So I just wonder if the organizations that are listening, or are they thinking about this? Are they ever in touch with the recruitment regulator? Maybe they don't want to be, maybe they don't want to stick their head above the parapet and be on the regulator's radar. But is this something that maybe they want addressed and they want the regulator to come out publicly and give a more public view on when these types of introductory digital middle person platforms are caught by the same regulations as them? Because I am seeing, like in my contacts and dealing with, just ping me lots of T's and C's of companies that they want to emulate. And I have to say the T's and C's are wrong, but they almost don't believe me because it's not convenient for them, you know.
I hadn't really thought about this, but yeah, I've come across these types of companies and don't realize that they are being a recruiter. That's what they're doing. They're introducing job seekers to end user clients, and therefore they need to be covered by the Act, don't they? And if they're charging the job seeker, it's like we're back to the 1970s, which was why the Act was brought in the first place. Yeah.
Exactly. So it could lead to exploitation. And I've actually chatted to a few tutors who've now set up their own companies, and I've helped them, and they're doing it properly. But they're now thinking of do I dob in my old platform that I work through who charge me? Do I try and get that money back because they shouldn't have charged me? And I've had one contact in the medical space, and basically he's been acting with basically NHS approved platforms who say they're not recruiters when they clearly are. And he has gone to the regulator, and the regulator now seems to be said they will follow up with these companies. So it is quite rife, and even companies you would think should know better or are not doing the right thing. So yes, it was more just putting that on the radar, people out there, and trying to get a conversation going around it. Because I do think the regulator needs to come out, or even the government needs to come out and actually bring the legislation up to date for the modern world.
Definitely. Can we get the link to the EASI in the chat? If we stick it in LinkedIn as well, Charlotte, so that people can access to that. You've got Declan's link there as well. So if this is something that's already on your radar, then maybe connect with Declan and discuss that further, and you'll be able to update them and help. We've got Rob back. Yay. I don't know what's going on with the tech today, but hey, it's just like that. Right. Let's get Kate on here, because I'm worried about hers as well, whether she'll disappear. So let's do a question for Kate, which is going to be around the sales. So hiring managers then. We've had our hiring manager week, and this is one of the questions that came up. Getting consultants to be able to get the hiring manager, to give them the time to get the full job description and personal specification, so they're much more likely to be successful. So from a sales conversation, a BD relationship point of view, what would be your suggestions, Kate, for people to be able to get that time with the hiring managers?
I think it needs to be something you speak about to them very early on. So when you're having those initial business development conversations, you're not won them as a client yet. You're just building that relationship, investigating, probing, bring it up and set that expectation. It's almost a boundary, isn't it? A positive boundary early on to say, look, the way we or I work is that every role that I work on for you, I will need to speak to you to qualify. Maybe you don't use the word qualify because they might not know what we mean by that, but to get the information on the role. I do this because it helps me find the right person for you. How do you feel about that? Or is that feasible? And if they're saying no, and you can't handle the objection and talk around it, then I would be questioning whether I want to work with them at all. Because if I'm never going to be able to qualify a job, I've got other clients that can take a higher priority. So I always say to people, bring this up early, because it's a bit of a red flag if they're adamant, oh no, I'm never going to do that for you. But if you do it early, it's not so much of a shock when they give you that first job. When you're saying, right, let's book in a call, let me have a chat with you about it. You've set that expectation, and if it's forgotten, you can remember we had that chat.
Yeah,
you can remind them of it. But I think you've got to start mentioning stuff like that early on, because it does help you work out if they're the right client for you.
I think that's a really good point, and certainly how you work and what works best, having some stats maybe to back that up. So I can tell clients that we spend half an hour going through a job description and person specification, 90% of those positions I fill, compared to if I only get a job description through and I don't get to question it or probe on it or find out any more information. Again, that starts a lot lower. So maybe do a little bit of analysis on the last 10 jobs that you've taken on, and give it a grading as to how long and how much information you got. And therefore, those type of things, I always found stats helped to convince them that they need to give you the time, because otherwise, you're on a hide into nothing, aren't you, Kate, if they don't give you that information.
Yeah. And it's funny how many people will change their tune if they won't do it, and you say, look, I just don't think that if we're not able to do this, you might be better off maybe going to a different agency that works in a different way, but that's the way I work. It's funny how quickly people change their tune. Like, oh, no, it's fine. We can do that. Because I think it's showing, look, I have these ways of working for a reason, and we need to be meeting in the middle. It's not always anything the client wants. It needs to be about, how we work as well.
Well, that's the thing. You're the recruitment expert, so therefore you should be giving them that advice. Declan, what about it from your point of view?
So yes, from the very sort of boring, dry legal perspective, go back to those conduct regs that I mentioned.
Yeah.
So I think it's regulation 18 of the conduct regulations. You have to get certain information from the hire. So you have an obligation to try and get certain information. So that should be included in your standard T's and C's, that is a certain information you will be requesting. And then you can just fall back to that and then blame the lawyers like everyone else does.
I used to love that when I used to get pushback, and I would say, this is actually part of, the legal requirements. If I don't do this, I'm going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
And that sort of resolved it then. People were like, oh, okay, if it's a legal requirement, then that's fine. So we'll get that. I know that Charlotte's off looking for the Employment Agency Standards Inspectorate. Didn't have a chance to type it all in, but there you go. But yeah, we'll get the conduct regulations in there. I don't know if you have a link to that, you have it on your website, Declan, but if not, we'll get the government website. And
it's just all legislation's on easily accessible to Google on it, but I can send you a few links for sure.
That would be great.
I know it's a minimum information. It might be that you require more detail to actually get the proper job description, but no, as a starting point, regulation 18 gives you that fallback. They blame the lawyers and blame the government for you asking extra questions.
Love it. No, we're quite happy to do that. We need as much information as possible, so that works really well for us. Brilliant. Okay. I've clicked the wrong one, so I'm messing around with it all over the place. I'm not with it at all. Okay. So actually, I have done these, so it is weird. Something's got a bit wrong with my questions, so apologies for that. So let's go to ones that I can see on there. Rod, let's get you back in. So how can I get non-sales people to do sales? So this has come up a lot. We've got a lot of people in recruitment that were brought on as resources in the last few years and have never done sales. And all of a sudden, the businesses want them to do that, and they're finding it a little bit trouble. So what would be your suggestion on that?
No problem. And hopefully I'll not disappear this time. It's not because I'm finding the questions awkward and just through technical difficulties. But, I think non-sales people, if they haven't done it before, they've maybe got a lot of preconceptions about what sales involve. They maybe think, your stereotypical fast-talking used car salesman. They don't feel comfortable with that. I think also people are very scared of rejection and failure and being told no. That can feel very uncomfortable just thinking about it. And the only way to get over that is to do it and get used to it and build that thick skin. So when you have someone brand new to sales, the first calls are going to be the hardest. The first rejections are tough. And then maybe when the first sale comes in, some people just get hooked on that feeling. So there's looking at the fears and the preconceptions and also the motivations. I'm sure there's an overlap between your recruitment and sales and being motivated by commission and bonus. If you've got someone that's never been attracted to a sales role, maybe they need something different to motivate them. So I know we're going to be talking about like 4-day weeks and flexibility and things. Maybe that's more of a motivator for them than just straight line commissions. The skills that people use in sales are transferable. So the skills that will make someone a good recruiter are going to make them a good salesperson as well. I think there's a myth that there's natural salespeople. There are very talented natural salespeople, but it's also skills that can be learned if they're motivated. But really, sales is having a conversation, identifying a need, recommending a solution, and then asking for a decision. And if you think about it like that, we all do that in so many areas, not just straight sales on calls. You can't hide that sales can be very, very stressful. I did sales for many years, and when you're smashing your targets, it's the best job in the world. When it's the last day of the quarter and you're 20 grand away from your target, it can be an absolute nightmare. But something we always said at Monster, we had a previous managing director, Derek Jenkins, who ran the sales teams, and he always had a saying, you drill into this, that sales is easy. You just speak to the right people, speak to enough of them, and say the right things. That's all there is to it. But I think find out what motivates people and make sure there's lots of great online training, free for sales, even just on YouTube, sales techniques, and find out what people are scared of and get them to make a note of all the objections that they're getting, and then come up with answers there'll only be so many objections that people are getting that are putting them off. So if you can give them the support to have answers for those objections, it's about confidence. So build their confidence. Yeah, and I think I managed to stay online the whole.
I know, we got you for the whole thing. And I want to take you back to that bit where you said, that sales conversation is just about asking questions, identifying those needs, finding out how you can help them, and then presenting that as a solution. So when I've got non-sales people, if they are resources, I always want to refer them to that as to, is that what you do for your candidates? Do you interview them? Do you find out what they want? Do you then present jobs to them that would be relevant? You're doing sales. It's the same. They just don't see the candidate and the client as different. And I do wonder whether it's because it's the client paying and not the job seeker. And obviously that's something that we've already discussed in here, that it is the law and that's how it's set. But maybe there's a little bit more jeopardy there. And that's why all of a sudden the anxiety goes up. Kate, what do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think I totally agree there with the kind of change in, I hope you can still hear me because my camera keeps disappearing. One of the first things I do if I'm training people that either haven't done business development for a long time or are new is changing their perceptions of it, because it can be quite negative. And like you said, Angela, getting them to see they're already doing sales by dealing with the candidate. But I think that because there's been such a gap in people doing it, that people need to be trained or upskilled. Like you said, people have come into recruitment during the last couple of years and never had to do it. You've also got people that have been in the industry longer that haven't done it for a long time. Just because they've done it before doesn't mean that they don't need some training to feel, because it makes people confident, having that knowledge in it and feeling like they can go out and do it. And so I think, and also kind of having an open discussion with them about why we do it, the benefits to the business, not just them individually, bringing that wider team into it and, bringing people together on it. So I think, because otherwise, if it's like, right, you need to do sales now. Well, some people need to know the why behind it to be motivated. So having those open discussions, and that can build confidence in itself then, can't it?
Well, this perfectly then links on to our other question around sales. We will get to the 4-day week. I'd clicked it off and it's come back again now. So apologies, but we will be doing that. So the non-sales people, that mindset and understanding, but those people that have done BD before, but now they've got to do it again, and it's been years since they've really had to. So what would be your reply to that on how to get the consultants to start doing it again and hopefully enjoy it?
I think it kind of links with what I've already said, but the why around it, and the benefits to them, because obviously if they're doing their I know people don't like the old school terminology, but if they're going back to their full 360 type role, you know, the benefits to them and like the independence and managing their own desk and all of that. But honestly, the main thing I see with consultants that are experienced, they've done it before but haven't in a while, it all stems down to them feeling like they haven't got the skills to do it anymore, because they just haven't done it for so long. And then they're lacking that confidence, and they're frightened of, what if I'm not good at it? What if, I get rejected? So I think there needs to be some training around that. So around that, identifying what are the areas they're most frightened of or least confident in, what do they feel they need support with, and offering some training around that. And little things like, getting them to go and practice little things in bite-sized chunks, build up confidence in that, then we'll move on to the next thing. Build up confidence in that. But if you're just saying to people, right, off you go, you've got to do sales training now. And people are like, well, I haven't done it in 3 years.
Yeah.
It's funny how quickly you can lose your confidence around it.
Yeah, it's getting back on the horse, isn't it? And there is always that anxiety to start with. I'm just going to put something in the chat. Charlotte, if you can copy this and put it over on the LinkedIn Live as well. It's been around a long time, but I use it with sales training just to get people's mindsets and to think, okay, what's standing out for you? So I want you to read this sentence. The letters are all pulled together, so you decide what it is. So Declan, in the chat, can you see that? What is it you're reading?
Opportunity. Opportunity is nowhere.
Okay, yeah. And Kate, how would you read that?
Yeah, same. Opportunity is nowhere.
Okay. Rod?
Opportunity is now here.
You've got an option. You've got a choice. Both of those are right. So sometimes that mindset is just realizing that there is an opportunity now here for you. So whether that is to earn more money, and a lot of recruiters are money related, money motivated, it might be an opportunity to really develop your skills and to become a full 360 recruitment consultant, which, to be honest, is one of the best jobs in the world if you're good at. So I could definitely advocate that. It might be to see whether it's for you and whether that's right, and you never know where that might take you. If you hone your sales skills, there's so many jobs in the world that you could do, but it also means that laterally there's always loads in the recruitment industry that you can do as well. So it's definitely a good skill to have in life, to be able to communicate people, ask questions, find out their issues and their problems and provide solutions to them. Who wouldn't want to be able to do that well? So think about it that way, and the opportunity is now here rather than opportunity is nowhere, because it's down to you how you see it. I love that still works, because I wasn't sure it was going to, because it's so old. But yeah, people see it in different ways. Brilliant. Thank you for that. Let's have a look at our... Right, yes, we wanted to spend a bit of time on this. Sorry, I clicked it off early. I got it all wrong. The 4-day week. So Declan, I'm going to come to you first, but I do want to hear everyone's... what are the judges' views? I copied and pasted it. We're judges now. We're on the panel. You pick which talent show you want to be.
Just a quick clarification on the not charging work seekers. So that's for work finding services. So there are some exceptions. So if people want to get in touch about that, then that's fine. Just want to do lawyerly qualification.
That's a good point. And I think I can remember from when I used to train it about 20 years ago. Actors and actresses were
exactly. They're one of the exceptions, yeah.
Because they get charged 10% by their agent, but their agent is finding them work and things like that. Yay! Oh, see, it's still in there. Okay. we will get that part of the act and we'll put that into the course. Remember, you can access the 53 previous sessions now. 83 different coaches that we've had in the time that we've been doing Ask the Coach. So all these questions get put in there, and with the answers, with the videos and with the resources and the links and everything. So it's a massive resource that you can have a look through, and there's bound to be questions in there that you've got a challenge with at the moment, and you'll get a great coach answering that for you. Okay, our last one then, everyone. So Declan, the 4-day week, very topical at the moment. So what's from your side, what's maybe the legal implications or what people should be aware of?
Yeah, so they set the scene. I haven't had time to read the report on the trial, but there was a trial recently, which basically came out and said that it was a good thing. I think the vast majority of the 70, I think.
When you said a trial, I'm straight into a legal case, and I'm thinking, what was the case name?
No. Trial as in like a trial of 70 companies, trial in the 4-day week where there's no reduction in pay, and they don't squeeze like all their hours into the 4 days. It's just they have a proper day off. So there was a trial involving some like Citizens Advice Bureau and some other big, well-known employers, and it seems like the vast majority I think it was a good thing. Are going to keep it. I think 18 will keep it on a permanent basis, which is quite good. So yeah, it was a good thing. I think, reading the snapshots of the report, I'm not sure there was an increase in productivity. I don't really think they have the metrics to really judge that.
No, but it stayed the same. Revenues and productivity pretty much stayed the same.
But I think there is it seems you know better than me actually on the stats, but on the, I think absenteeism went down massively, and retention was a lot better. And so yeah, it just seems to be a good thing from that trial for sure. But I suppose from my perspective as the lawyer, look, it's going to need proper planning. If you it's not law. No, you don't have to give it. It's discretion if you want to do this 4-day week, if you want that, or else if someone puts in a flexible working request, you can consider it them, for example. But it is at the employer's discretion. But if you are going to do something like this and implement it, then it does need proper planning to make sure it works for the business, works for the employees whose hours will be reduced, but also it works for the staff who already are working part-time. So there are quite a lot. It's quite a wide thing. So I'll just mention some like legal issues to think about if you are thinking of implementing something like this. So the first thing is, are you going to make it a contractual change and to the employment contract? Or are you going to keep it more loose and keep it as a discretionary policy? No, if I was advising my clients, I'd probably say just go with a bit of a trial and keep it as a policy to start with and see how that goes. I think that is probably the sensible route. One of the obvious points is how does it affect holiday entitlement? And I think there is a consensus that it will reduce holiday by 20%, your entitlement. But no, you're getting those extra days anyway, so kind of evens out. But you will need to think about that and deal with it. I've mentioned already, how do you deal with staff who are working part-time already to make sure they're not disadvantaged? So I think what is happening is, or what people are thinking of doing is just basically paying those part-time staff more to make up. Because obviously people who are on 5 days will work for 4 days, but still get paid the same as if they were 5. So you have to prorate that out and make sure that people who are part-time get an equivalent benefit for sure. Either reduce their hours further or just pay them more or give them more holiday entitlement or whatever it might be. There's different ways to sort of do that. And you need to be careful to do that, because if you treat them less favorably because they're part-time staff, and the part-time staff have their own regulations to protect them. And then also a lot of people who work part-time, I think generally the consensus is that it's mainly women, and that's often for childcare issues, etc. So you could be indirectly discriminating against them if you don't provide these extra benefits to these people who are working part-time already. So lots of stuff to think about when it goes into these things. You also want to manage your workforce, to ensure that you have those 5, if you need it, to have the 5 days covered. As a law firm, we would definitely need the 5 days covered, because it might just be the deadlines for the tribunal or the courts fall on a Friday or a Wednesday or a Monday, whenever that day might be, that you take it off, and you need to have all the 5 days covered. So I think there's a proper HR engagement piece there to make sure that trying to keep everyone happy and give them the day that they want, as well as covering what you need for the business. If everyone wants a Friday off, you're going to have a bit of an issue. And in reality, I think it should be fine. Smaller companies might struggle more with that. They have less cover for the days off. So yeah, things like that. I think you mentioned, Rod, commission earlier. So this is something I just thought about today, actually, especially for the recruitment industry. What if you have someone who's been working on a matter, and then on the day that they're off, obviously someone else is covering that, and then that other person does a good bit of work that day, they actually bring it in and conclude it. how does that work for commission? Who gets it? You know, so that's something I don't have an answer yet. You know,
yeah, that's always a big discussion in companies, and usually then because the bonus is discretionary, it's down to the manager to see who's actually done the work with it and what percentage, and usually they'll then split the fee regards to that. So there might be something written out in the policy, but it's always at the discretion of the manager, the commission and the bonus.
Yeah, it just may, I suppose my point is it just may create more of a requirement to think about that, because you may have people covering for other people and finalizing their matters, and then them saying, actually, I should be getting a piece of this commission, despite maybe someone haven't worked on it for 6 months and they do one day and think that they should get. So something to think about. But it sounds like the recruiter should have some kind of process already to sort of delineate who did what, and therefore who should get what. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I just wanted to point out, Simon Bliss, because you talked there about smaller companies might have difficulty, and team members tend to be, I don't know Amber and Realm Recruitment whether they are smaller companies, but he's saying that 2 of their members are both doing the 4-day week, and both report improvements in retention and attraction, but also productivity. So for them, it actually increased their productivity, which is amazing, isn't it? So Simon, if you're there, if you could let us know roughly how many staff each of those companies have, but they're likely to be an SME. So
when I say small, I mean someone would say 5 employees. They make sure you've got all the time covered that you need when you've got a small workforce to work with. That's really what I was thinking about. But mainly it's just, the point is, have a think about what you need, what the staff want, and then just try and sort of work it all out and put the jigsaw together. And then also you probably have to think about your appraisal system and whether people's targets obviously need to be dropped. If they can't bring in as many clients in a week or a month because they're working less time, or for lawyers, for example, our billable hours target will clearly have to be dropped.
Yes, that would be different. But yeah, recruiters, I think the aim is to keep the productivity the same. The fact that these 2, with 6 staff and 15 staff respectively, have been able to increase productivity, that's amazing, isn't it? Okay, I'm just aware of time. We've got a few more minutes.
Can I ask one last point? Ties in, of course, with my course, my GDPR course, which is on recruiting, Jim. So obviously you may need to have extra monitoring of your staff to assess that productivity. Maybe you need to put in place different systems now. Make sure you've thought about that from the GDPR data protection perspective, and that your privacy policy for staff covers all that off.
Wonderful. We'll get that link in there as well. Yeah. So if you've not been trained in GDPR, you need to be. So click on that link, and it's a yearly subscription which gets updated. So nice and easy for you to keep on top of it all. Okay, Rod, you were putting in some great stats and figures in here. Hopefully, Charlotte's put them over onto LinkedIn as well. But if you want to just pull out a couple of those highlights for us, that'd be great.
Yeah, so those are the stats from the trial Declan was talking about there. We actually had one of the sponsors of the trial, an MP, write an article for our site when it was starting, which I can share as well. Some of the things that came out from that, benefits that you might not think of in the wider. Declan, you were saying about being careful not to discriminate against existing part-time workers. They're proposing that the 4-day week could help tackle the gender pay gap because of historically, women do a lot more unpaid work, especially outside the workplace, and already tend to, they're more likely to reduce hours after having children. Whereas if everyone's down to a 4-day week, it can spread the load of the unpaid household work more evenly. There's also a suggestion that can help tackle climate change. If we all went down to a 4-day week, there's, a fifth less commuting. They say that could reduce carbon emissions by 127 million tons a year, which is the equivalent of taking all private cars off the road. A couple of things just on the wider recruitment aspect. I think for recruiters, it's going to be interesting to see some first mover advantage for the people that are offering this. I saw Sainsbury's are looking to offer it in some of the roles. Is that going to give them a big recruiting advantage over other supermarkets in really tight markets? I think it will. What makes companies nervous is the idea of a 4-day week with no loss of pay. So I think it needs to be positioned the companies as a 4-day week with no loss in productivity. So it should theoretically be a win-win. Other things, I thought it's really interesting to take a step back and say, really, there's nothing inherent or natural about a 40-hour work week across 5 days. That's completely arbitrary. It used to be a 6-day work week. The arguments we're seeing against the 4-day work week now are the same arguments that were made whenever we moved from a 6-day work week to a 5-day work week over a century ago. It's a model that really was designed around factory work. And really, what it's about is work-life balance, and not just with the 4-day week, but what we're seeing more and more in the research we're doing is candidates want flexibility in where they work, when they work, and how they work. And the companies that can offer that are going to be at an advantage when it comes to recruiting, because they're offering candidates what they want.
Definitely food for thought, isn't there? There's so much to this, and I saw it on the news, which is why I know some of those stats, and it just seemed like this is such a great way to go, which is why I wanted to finish with Kate, because you've actually implemented that this year. We are very lucky to have you today because it is your day off.
It's my day off. Yeah. I've started doing a 4-day week from, the start of this year, and it's been an absolute game changer for me. I'm definitely more productive. I'm coming back more rested on a Monday, getting, like I said, exactly the same amount of work, if not a little bit more done. I'm not working extra hours on the days that I am working. I'm just treating them as normal days. It's been an absolute game changer for me. And I was thinking the other day, if I'd have done this when I was in as a consultant, I would have burnt out a lot less, definitely. It's nerve-wracking at first. I think in our line of work, it is scary going down to a 4-day week, but I see loads of benefits to it. I'm not surprised in those figures or that info that Simon shared at all. And it's a massive, attracts people to your agency, doesn't it? Stuff like that.
Totally. Well, I'm definitely going to be looking at it for the recruiting, Jim, now after all this coming out this week. So I think that might be an option for us as well. So fantastic. Thank you, everyone. I knew this was going to be a good one. There's so much detail in there. Get those links in as well. We'll put those into the course. We've got Kate's DISC course. If you need help with BD, we've got our BD fundamentals course. We've got a GDPR course with Declan. Rod, where's your course? You haven't got one in the gym. We'll get onto that. Picking up from there, and we've got you all here for the end. So Kate, you've looked stunning throughout, so very relaxed and totally not stressed, which is obviously what your Fridays are all about anyway. So thank you for that. And we'll be back in 2 weeks' time. Am I right in thinking, I think it's our US special in 2 weeks' time. So we've got 3 coaches from the US. It will be a different time. It will be 4 o'clock because I cannot expect them to be getting up at 6 in the morning to be doing a webinar. So it'll be later for that. We'll give you more updates on that. Next week on the daily workout, we've got what clients want week, what clients value with John Brooks. So do get involved with that as well if you're looking to have more help with the BD on the client side. Thank you, everyone. Been great. We got through it.
Thank you. Yeah.
we all got
there in the end.
Thanks very much.
Brilliant. Declan, I'm just going to finish with, you've now got a team that's actually a recruitment team specific to help with all of these issues, haven't they? We've got that link as well.
There's a couple of us or 3 of us would do the compliance stuff we're talking about. We've got a guy that helps follow up with unpaid invoices, and then we also have a corporate lawyer on that team that can help with standard corporate type stuff that recruiters will be thinking about if they want to exit their business or set up what's called an EOT, that can employee ownership trust. We can basically help with anything legal relates to.
Lovely. So the link is in there already. Charlotte was ahead of me, so thank you for that. And for the first time, it's my 20th anniversary next year of running my business, and for the first time in this last month, I've got a non-payer. So I will be on to you. Thank you for that.
Excellent. I'm not excellent to you.
See you all soon. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Charlotte. Cheerio.